Let's go, guys. We start with breaking news on Nathan Cleary. He's in doubt for this weekend's clash. Dave Campbell, what are your thoughts on Cleary and what are you doing with him this week?
Hines is in the starting side. Cleary is a reserve at the moment, and I've kind of made sure I've got an option to take a reserve off and stick it on someone else if he does end up being out.
Yep. Tim Moody is with us as well. What are your plans with Cleary this week?
Just to pray to the SuperCoach gods that they do start him. I've got a weird feeling they won't with the matchup. I just think that potentially Ivan might want to give some of the younger guys a go just as a warm-up before the Origin period.
I don't think they have any real reason to play him. It's up against the Tigers.
Had the niggle last week.
Had the niggle last week. They have confirmed if he does play, he won't kick goals either. So if you were thinking of putting the captaincy on Nathan Cleary, then I would strongly advise against that and go with someone else. For me, look, I've got the R on him for now, and I can switch to either Alamotti or Taruva, who's in that same game. The news on Taruva is that he's trained lightly this week, so he is in a fair bit of doubt as well.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to play until they named him, so we'll see how that one goes. I'd really like him to get a run this week. He hasn't been a play most week, but when we've been sort of desperate for players this week, I like, especially with Tago, glue hands out of the picture. Both those centres for Penrith have got glue hands, I'll tell you what.
Yes, and then they bring in glue hands himself, Tyrone Peachey as well, who may end up being a cheapie purchase this week. You
I don't mind
just off
it.
air before.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it as a potential downgrade to free up for decisions going forward next week. I might make no trades, I might make just the one, or potentially could make two. So I'm going to make that decision Friday night once we get a bit more information.
Just a quick roll call on how many people everyone has on the park. It's a tough week this week. I think I'm going to slide by with 18. Yours?
I've got about 20, but some of them you don't want to play.
I've got 18 with Moale, Sawney, Luke, Isaiah Katoa, maybe even Dunster and Alamotti in there as well. So it's going to be a tough week.
Yeah, I've got 19. That includes Sonny Luke, Manu, who I'm not sure if I'm going to trade him or play him. He has scored quite well against Penrith in the past. He's had scores in the 80s and 70s, only playing them over 2 games. So, I don't know, maybe there's something there to that. But, yeah, I'm very concerned about all the speculation. Will Tommy play? Will Taruva? Will the Penrith guys? Yeah, it's tough, especially with a few Storm players in my side.
Plenty of questions coming through already, and sledges, I hope, after that start. Let's do Pimp Your Team. Dave Campbell is all over Facebook. I'm all over YouTube. What have we got?
First question is one I know you like, Tommy, from Mitchell. Stefano to Adam Fanua-Blake this week.
Yes, I'm doing that myself. Look, Adam Fanua-Blake he's got massive upside, but he does have a low score in him for a prop as well, so he's not the safest guy. If you're looking for someone safe in that position, Tapine is the guy, but Tapine is also 40k more. So I'm going to go with AFB, especially given the injury crisis they have there with Tohu and Tavanga out. I think he could take on a big role in that team. Your thoughts?
Yeah, look, he scored in the last 2 games. If you take the score out of last week's score, it's still he would have been in the 70s, so it's fantastic. There was the increased minutes last week because of those injuries. If they don't have the injuries, he's probably still going to play a little bit more minutes than he normally would because of the other guys being a bit more inexperienced. I don't mind it. He's -1 BE, so we'll make a little bit of cash. An Origin buy coverage fella, so yeah.
Obviously, front row is something that's concerning a lot of people this week, and we've just talked about Fanua-Blake. Richard's asking, though, if you had to bring someone in out of Tino or Joseph Tapine, which one would you grab?
Tapine, he's got buy coverage. I've got Tino in my side, and I like it. I would have preferred to have Haas if I could rewind the time. Not for this week, obviously.
Okay. Yeah.
But, yeah, I think Tapini's the guy to go. He's scoring in the 60s. Not a great deal of attacking stats yet, but he always sort of just picks it up prior to Origin around this period. So
yeah, he's going to be really important for Origin. Him and Madison are the 2 guys to get in before then. And as you said, no attacking stats, but we know that he can do that. He's a really good attacking player with the tackle busts and the offloads. So hopefully that comes in the next couple of weeks.
Luke's asking, what exactly is wrong with Cleary?
Groin. So he didn't kick on the weekend because of that injury. And as I said before, if he does play, he won't kick this week. So Stephen Crichton will take on the kicking duties. We've got one more for us there, Dave?
Yeah, a couple of people looking to sort out their second row. They're just asking, is there a good second row cheapie that they can jump on this week?
There are a few. I mean, Hame Sele, I was kind of keen on until he got benched this week with Tola back. I think the best sort of bottom dollar guy, if you have the right jewels, might be Wiramu Greg from the Eels, who is now starting in place of Regan Campbell-Gillard.
Yeah, the other one I sort of had to chat to you pre-going live was Tyrone Peachy.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. In a good side at Penrith. Hopefully he holds that spot down over the next 6 weeks with Tago being out. If he plays in the centres too, he's going to pick up... He's hit second row at the moment.
Yeah, right. So
he'll pick up a duel, which is handy if he does hang around. There's obviously McLean and Jenkins from the Penrith, in the Penrith New South Wales Cup side that are also banging the door down, I believe. But it seems Peachy's been going quite well in New South Wales Cup, and he's also got the experience. So I think they are leaning with him, obviously.
So plenty of questions coming through on YouTube as well. And sledges, send your sledges, guys. If you get your best sledges, the Zinger of the Week thing will pop up on the screen. A great prize that is. No zingers yet on YouTube. But Benny G is asking, is it crazy to offload Cleary? Not going to play according to Lightmail. He has the Warriors, Roosters and Broncos before Origin with a BE in the 140s. Is this a pod move? Would you consider it?
My younger brother's in a situation where I think he has to do it. I think he's only got Cleary and no backup guy. So if you don't have a backup guy, like you don't have Nicho Hynes, maybe you might want to do it. I'd encourage people to hold on to him.
Yep.
I just think that he puts out big scores whenever he's on the field. So
yep, hold for me.
Yeah, hold.
I'm a hold as well. The thing people forget about SuperCoach is you don't lose money if you don't make the trade. And if we know he's a quality player, we know he's going to put up big scores. So if he loses a bit of money now, it doesn't matter if you're never going to trade him.
Yep, it's just fake money on paper for now. Big game tonight. Sharks v the Cowboys. Let's do the burning issues. So the late mail is that there is no late mail. Both teams look like they will be unchanged. Nicho Hynes, the big question going into this game, VC or C, or do you avoid him altogether? I think you have to get at least one of the VC or C on him. And for me, with so many injuries and people in doubt this week, I think that the VC loophole is going to be risky if, say, Cleary or Taruva is ruled out late. So for me, I think it's going to be the C straight on Nicho Hynes tonight.
If you only cop the one AE, you think you might get double.
Yeah, you might get caught short if someone does get ruled out later on.
I think I'm going to take the punt and just go VC. I've been a bit punty all year, and it's not really paying off for me. I've been tossing my mind up back and forth, but yeah, I just think that if I can take advantage of that free loophole through the few guys that are going to be out for my side, great. Hopefully I can cover it with the 19 players, and I might bring one more player in just to be certain.
It's not really in your DNA to be going straight C on a Thursday night, is it?
No, I don't like the Thursday night game, and I don't like a straight C, so yeah, I should have done it last week though.
What are you doing, Dave?
I am going the straight C. I VC'd Hynes last week, got a little bit burned with the fact that he banged out close to a ton, and then my captain was Tom Trbojevic, so not making the same mistake this week.
Val Holmes, this is a big game for him up against his old club. The last time he was there, here he is scoring his try. The last time he played at Shark Park, he kicked the winning field goal and had an absolute blinder. So you'd think he'd be fired up for this one tonight.
Yeah, his old club. I prefer not to talk about him too much. I sold him last week for Garrick, and it's very painful. It is what it is. What do you got on him?
I've kept him. I very much valued his ton last week, and I hope he knocks up another one. He's is one of those guys we've spoken about a few weeks ago, saying it's coming, it's coming. We got it last week, which was great. Hopefully he can go on a bit of a tear.
Copes, in his Cheapy Bible column, was talking up Jake Granville. So the story with him is obviously he's available as a hooker, and he's mostly played as a hooker during his career, except for a brief stint at fullback a couple of years ago. But he's been playing lock and even front row 2 weeks ago. So there could be a late change here where he just plays in the middle as a running forward. Do you rate him as a cheapie at all?
I'm on the fence about it. I don't think it's a great thing. I don't think it's also terrible. I think it's team dependent if you need to sort of free up that cash. I wouldn't want to play him most weeks, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hooker only, I think, as well, so it's kind of tough to bring him in. Your thoughts?
I think he'll offer some good buy coverage as well, but it's a bit of a luxury trade. Like if you've really got no option or you've got no other trades to make and you just buy planning. He'll make money this week. He's got a negative break even, but will he make a lot of money in the long run? Probably not.
Friday night footy. Let's chat the games on Friday night. Eels v Knights and Broncos v the Rabbitohs. Eels, Jermaine Hopgood, still in 35% of teams, and he is named to start this week. Now, they've been flipping around with rotations in the back row, but he's been named to start this week, so that could be good news for him.
Yeah, stoked about that one. I did hold on to him. It's probably one of the good things I've done this year. Only one of two, maybe, good things I've done. With Regan Campbell-Gillard being out, I think that's also handy. He likes to just, plug through the middle. Has the Origin buy coverage, assuming he doesn't get a call-up, which I don't think he will. But, if he bangs his door down over the next couple of weeks, maybe he does.
Dylan Brown is starting to get pretty popular. He's got great buy coverage. I think he is due for a big game at some stage, and it could be against the Knights, who have been a little bit leaky. Thoughts on Dylan Brown?
I think he's a great option, obviously for buy coverage, as you said, but he's also he's been delivering pretty decent scores without, seeming to do a lot. Yeah. So you just kind of think if he has a match where it kind of clicks for him, you're looking at a big score. The scores he's putting out are good without much effort. So hopefully he picks up and starts knocking out some big ones as well.
We've got a question coming through on this game, so I'll go to it now from Martin. He's saying, thoughts on Sean Lane over Madison? Assuming Madison keeps playing well, he might get a bench spot for New South Wales. Well, Sean Lane's in contention for a bench spot for New South Wales as well. He was in the squad last year. I think with Maddo and Lane, it's one of those trades that you wait right on round 13 to make the decision, because if one of them does get called up, you'll be caught short.
I think I'd prefer Madison.
Yeah.
I mean, if Brownie's putting him Lane through for some tries, he's pretty juicy as well. But I think Madison's just got the workload there, and he has got a bit of pizzazz in him as well.
Yeah, the base is just so good from Maddo.
I think that's the difference. With Lane, you're kind of relying on some tries to have those decent scores. With Madison, you get those decent scores purely from the base. So the ceiling is much higher for Madison than it is for Lane.
I wonder what the price difference is. That could be a big factor. It's not much. Lane's high sixes, and I think Madison's low sevens.
So, I was in the sevens, yeah. So Hayes Dunster, he's in that spot. It's probably going to be just for 1 week on the wing there, and Simonson's back next week. That's what the Eels are saying. So you get, you're not going to get a big price rise from him because his break even is 38 off the top of my head.
Yeah, probably avoid that one. Some people might have brought him in last week and not realised he wasn't playing, so it's great for them having this extra game that he has got. But yeah, I'd be trying to probably go. There isn't a great deal of options, but Croaker maybe, who I brought in last week.
Yeah, I think Croaker is the number one cheapie this week, even though a
bit
lot
of security issues there once everyone's back. But
Xavier Savage is playing New South Wales Cup, so he could potentially come back into that team. But they've won 2 with Croaker in that side.
Yeah, I think they dropped Hopewadi before they dropped Croaker, but then you've got Kotrick coming back fairly soon as well.
I would think so. Ponga is back. He played last week, set up a try, only 50-odd minutes and still got almost 60 points. So it was a pretty solid return, got that try assist there. Only 500k. So if you're looking for a cut price guy for Turbo, he could be the man.
You just worry about the head knocks, don't you? It's just that thing. You just have that feeling that the week you bring him in is the week he goes off with another concussion. And then, we saw how long he was out in this most recent stint. I just don't know if it's worth the potential of burning a trade like that.
Quinn has sent through a question on YouTube. Should I play Turbo or Katoa? Now, my thoughts on this are that Turbo has the captain's run tomorrow where he'll test out his groin. We should know tomorrow whether he'll play or not. So I'd be making that decision tomorrow. Katoa, look, he's in my 17 this week through necessity, but I'm just going to have to play him.
Yeah, I'm assuming there's 3 Katoas these days. So
I'm assuming
he's talking
Katoa.
about the Dolphins Katoa.
Dolphins playmaker.
Yeah.
Not Eli Katoa because he's on the bye.
Yeah, so if Turbo does play, he's probably going to be right to go. Otherwise, they wouldn't risk him. They can cover it quite easily. They're doing well on the ladder. If we do get information he plays, I'd play Turbo. He scored 37 going off early and looking crook. So more often than not, it's harder for Katoa to sort of get those scores, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Question from Riley Cross. Chance of Manly putting Turbo to centre and Garrick to fullback? Look, I don't think it's going to happen. I think either Turbo's in or at fullback or he's out. He could, if Turbo does get ruled out, I guess Garrick could go to fullback, and I do hope that happens. But the word is that Kaya Weeks goes there. So,
Yeah, I reckon they'd do that.
that's what they've been working towards for quite a while. Tedesco, lots of questions about Teddy. Is he in? He's a bit of a blast from the past, but he's very cheap, 560 odd K.
Looked good on the weekend. Oh, during the week, I should say, for the Anzac Day match. But he was involved. He was lurking. I think he's probably like the most solid option, I feel, at the moment. The potential that he has versus the price he currently is, it's hard to go past.
Yeah, so I've got Walshy there, who I'm tempted to sell just because of the price and the hard draw. I really want to hold on to Walsh for next week at Magic Round. Just got a little feeling against Manly, and I feel like I'm going to be cut watching him if I do sell. But yeah, just the amount to free up that cash. The thing that's holding me back, I only get 4 more games out of Teddy before Origin if I do bring him in, and then I'm probably going to move him on anyway to someone like a Gutho. But I think Teddy's a really solid option. He didn't really tackle bust many at all last week. St George were just swarming him and wrapping him up and holding on to him, but they were playing out of their skin last week with that Anzac sort of quality that they do.
I don't think that Tedesco's game has really changed that much this year. I think he's pretty much stayed the same. It's just the players around him haven't been dominating as much, so Teddy hasn't dominated as much. There were some good signs there on Anzac Day with Joey Manu at 5/8. They've got a pretty easy run coming up too. So for a 4-week hit-and-run mission, Tedesco's in for me this week. Moving on to the Broncos v Rabbitohs. Payne Haas is out. A lot of people are selling us for this hip drop tackle here. A lot of people are selling. I can't get around that at all because he's just so much better than anyone else in that prop position.
It's an awkward one. I guess if you're really stuck in the front row and he's your main guy and you've got maybe an Utukamanu who you can't go up to a decent guy from Utukamanu, maybe you just can't fund it. Maybe you do it. If you're going to do it, I'd be going one of those buy coverage guys. Obviously, Payne Haas will play Origin. You can get him back after Origin if you need to. But ideally, I'd want to hold him just how good he's been going.
Definite hold for me. For you?
Yeah, definitely. This year, Payne Haas, Daylight, and then everyone else in that position. Are you going to have the trades to get him back later on in the year? If you're burning a trade now to get him out, can you get him back? Because that's what you need to plan for. You're not trading Payne Haas out and going, I'm done with him for the season. You're 100% getting him back, and you need to make sure you've got the trades to do that.
Of course, Cody and Latrell are on fire, and it's a big blockbuster clash for them up against the Broncos at Suncorp. With Latrell on fire, a lot of people are getting around Alex Johnston as a bit of a point of difference guy, 560 odd K, I believe it is, but a low break even. Thoughts on him as a little quick cash grab, and will it cover 13 for you as well?
I think the Bunny's draw's a little harder.
And look,
they're dominant on that side though, and yeah,
that's just what happens so often. The cutout ball to Alex Johnston from Latrell or Cody.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Do the Bunnies play 13?
Yeah.
I like it.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, it's one that you need. He needs to score tries for it to be worthwhile. You certainly wouldn't rule him out from doing that.
I've been looking at Sione Katoa from the Sharks. He won't have that round 13 coverage, but at a similar sort of price, maybe Alex Johnson's a better option.
Yep, both of those guys can go on real try-scoring runs. There's always a point in the season where Alex Johnson goes on an absolute tear and scores 8 tries in 4 games. You just need to pick when it is, and hopefully it's in the next couple of weeks leading into Origin and he can cover 13. Quite a few questions about Tyrell Sloan. Speaking of guys who can make a bit of quick cash at centre wing, you're a Dragons fan, Dave. Do you like him?
I like him. I don't know if I like him for SuperCoach. I've got him, but I haven't been playing him because he has been very rocks or diamonds. I think he's growing into that position. But great scorer on the weekend, but we've seen that the floor for him is in the teens.
Yeah.
And that's the risk you're running.
Yeah, 2 scores of 15 this year and his base is 16. So that doesn't read well for SuperCoach. But he pretty much single-handedly got the Dragons back into that Anzac Day clash.
In the second half.
He was so good. But, yeah, I mean, if you're thinking he's going to make you some quick cash, you've got to factor in that in one of these 4 or 5 games coming up where he covers that round 13 bye, you're going to get a poor score in there too, which may stop those price rises.
Yeah, it is good buy coverage. I like the idea that you don't have to put him in fullback. You can hide him in the centre wingers. Yeah. That's the only thing I'd say, okay, maybe. If you're chucking him in fullback, no. For SuperCoach, that is, obviously, in your side. Yeah, you're 100%. He's got those low ones in him. But I've got Reece Walsh, and so does he. And he is taking up a premium fullback spot. So
I just think if you've had him for weeks when he was at that base price, great. But I don't know if you'd bring him in now for, what's he up to now? 400? 460. Yeah. I don't know if you'd bring him in for 460k.
He's the most popular purchase this week, which I find a little bit strange, to be honest. Let's take another question. Trade. What have we got? Do you have anything on Facebook there?
Crichton, a pod captain against the Tigers.
Oh, kicking goals. Yeah. Look, it's very poddish. I'd be going with a pretty solid VC option like Nico. I don't hate it.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
But look, if Cleary's out of that team, then how much attack will they have? It's pretty risky.
Goal kicking's a bit of insurance, though. If the Panthers can still score, 30 points in that game, he's going to probably kick a few goals. He likes to run the ball and not pass it to To'o. I've noticed that 'cause I'm a To'o owner. Yeah. So it's not the worst thing, and it is poddish, so, yep.
Look, plenty of team changes coming up. We've mentioned them a lot already. Let's do late mail. So, big story up on the Daily Telegraph this morning. DCE has given an absolute rocket to Josh Schuster, basically saying he's not working hard enough. He needs to completely change his attitude if he wants to become an NRL player and wants to live up to his massive talent. So, really, he's essentially been dropped. He hasn't been axed to work on... conditioning is a thing, and that's what the club has said, that he needs to work on that quad injury. But realistically, he's been dropped just to work on his attitude, really. So that shows to me that if you are holding on for that round 13 coverage, which I desperately am, it may not happen.
Hard to move him on because he is so cheap. And
yeah.
I'd like to think that he'll fix his attitude in that time, play well when being dropped in New South Wales Cup. The thing is, he's a big boy. He should be running the ball a bit more. And if he is running the ball, it's going to make him more dangerous because they're not going to know if he's going to pass or if he's going to run it. But he runs a great straight line and opens up a lot of space. So I do like what he does for them.
I don't know if 5'8" even is his best position. They might put him back on that left edge as a back rower at some stage, ball-playing back rower, which he played really well a couple of seasons ago. What are your plans with Schuster?
We're just keeping him. He's, as you said, he's so cheap. You lose nothing if you hold on to him. Hopefully, he gets up for the buys, and all the frustration we're experiencing now is somewhat mitigated. If he doesn't, you just remove that deadwood after the buys. But at the risk of him playing the buy and you're moving him on now, you're going to regret it.
I've got some news on Turbo in that he's got a captain's run. He's got the fitness tests, so we can wait to make that decision I don't need to make any trades tonight, so I won't be. I'll be waiting till tomorrow to see what happens with Turbo. But the coach has said they're not going to take any risks. So my feeling is that he's almost certainly out. Is he a trade for you?
It won't be a trade for me. I'm going to hold on to him. He's too low in value, assuming he can get through what he's going through, whether it's just awkwardness or trying to adjust to his running style. He can light it up. I'm not confident in captaining him again after doing it last week. I believe Brendan Savage is going to captain him this week. Ballsy.
Wow.
Yeah, so
but I mean,
he's doing very well. So
yeah, you can't doubt.
Can't knock
Savs at the
him. When he's
moment.
hot, he's hot.
Every
So,
time I look at my league, he's about 200 points more than me.
yeah, I think that they will rest him as well. So he might not captain him, obviously, unless you will do a loop. But just I heard Cherry Evans speaking on it too, and he said, we want our best players at the back end of the year. That's all that's important. If he misses a week, he misses a week. So they've got the cover. I would see they'd probably give him a spell.
Yeah, I think he gets a spell. It may even be 2 weeks, and in that case, you only got 2 games before Origin. So you're looking at, a pretty not too many games coming up for Turbo.
I think trading him out is really about the circumstances of everyone's individual team. Have you got enough players? Who's your other fullback? I can see why people would keep him, but I can also see people who are trading him out, and I certainly wouldn't speak against it. But I think it really does come down to what your individual situation is.
Turbo to Teddy's pretty much a straight swap, so I do like that. I think you feel safer running Teddy for the next 4 weeks.
Yep, I've got Turbo to Teddy locked in. Speaking of the Roosters, Joey Manu, will he stay at 5'8"? Trent Robinson in the press conference after the match refused to guarantee that he would get that spot, even though Manu played pretty well. And Luke Keary got man of the match. So I think the new halves combination worked pretty well. In any case, Joey Manu, is he a buy this week, even with those question marks hanging over him on whether he'll stay at 5'8"?
Yeah, I like him.
I agree. I got him last week.
Yep, same.
Yeah, I think he stays for at least one more week. We all know form doesn't matter in the Anzac Day match, and he played really well. I think Robinson will have a regular match without all of that emotion to see if the formation maintains that strength, and then we see what happens after that.
Good price for him too.
Good price as well. And one thing to note, he needs just 2 more starts in that position to earn dual status for round 12. So you could have added dual position coming up soon. Taruva, he has trained lightly this week, so it's still up in the air whether he'll play. And plenty of chat that Carl Oluwapu will come in and make his debut for the Bulldogs. It may not be starting at 5'8", it could be from the bench. We'll wait and see what happens there, but this kid is talked about. And look, as soon as he makes a debut, super coaches will be revving up to get him in.
Yeah, I'm not Gus Gould or Cameron Ciraldo, but if I was, I'd be pushing for him to start. Yeah. I think Josh Reynolds is more of a guy you want to bring on off the bench as an impact guy. I think that if you are going to debut a kid like this who's got a lot of hype around him, rather than make a big announcement about it and have the pressure on him all week, you just, make that change late just to allow him just to ease in.
Yeah, a bit of chat around that Ciraldo wasn't keen to debut him with so many injuries. But, I mean, look, they've lost a few on the trot, so he could be forced to make it this week.
Yeah, I mean, you need bodies on the field, so and there's one there. They really are the walking wounded at the moment, the Bulldogs.
Right, guys, this is my favourite segment. Let's do Guilty Pleasures. This is the player who your heart is telling you to buy, but you probably shouldn't. For me, it's Jared Croaker. He's got those job security issues hanging over him, but he's just a Supercoach gun from way back. I've actually got 2 guilty pleasures. Jared Croaker, and his goal kicking is so good for Supercoach as well. And James Tedesco. So 2 absolute greats of Supercoach. Anyone who's big on the history of Supercoach will know that Croaker and Tedesco are 2 of the best going around, and I'm going to bring them both in this week. What's your guilty pleasure?
Croaker for me as well. You just, hark back to seasons gone and the kind of numbers he was putting up. And, I also just want him to keep starting. I want him to get to 300 NRL matches. And, it's just, my brain says, he's only got a couple of games left as the Raider troops return. But my heart says, come on, Croaks, get to 300 games.
Yeah, so my guilty pleasure is not someone I want to buy, it's someone I want to hold, who I mentioned before, Reece Walsh. My head's saying that the draw's a lot harder. Last week sort of showed that it was harder for him to get those attacking stats, and without them, he's more set for those 30 to 50s. And I think there's going to be more 30 to 50s than the tons that we've seen all season. But yeah, as I said, I really want to watch him for Magic Round. So
you in the stands at Magic Round in your vintage Panthers jersey, cheering on Reece Walsh. I can see it.
Do you give him the benefit of the doubt though, given obviously last week in the 30s, but his lowest other score other than that this year has been 84
against easy opponents, except for Penrith that they played in the first round. I just think that these harder opponents will have better D, and in doing that, less line breaks, less icing the gun pass, better scramble in defence, shuts some of those plays down.
I tend to agree, and you look at his run, it's a barely believable run that they had to start the season, but then it gets really tough from here. It's essentially maybe the four best teams in the comp, or it's certainly four of the best teams in the comp for the next 4 weeks.
If I sell him, I can probably buy him back for round 13, sort of over the bye period as well if I need to.
If he misses Origin, but it looks like he's a good chance for that team. Cheapies. Let's talk cheapie of the week. Jared Croaker is the most popular cheapie. I'm getting him this week, and a whole bunch of people. Do we all own him or bring him in?
I brought him in last week.
Yeah, I think you can just lock him in. He's the safest bet this week. Hayes Dunster is a little bit more risky, last resort cheapie for me. And then Robert Jennings.
Very
a lot
risky.
of people are going on Robert Jennings, even though Tessie New is probably back next week.
Yeah, I wouldn't be doing Robert Jennings just because of the main factor, Tessie New.
And not because of the brain fade.
Yeah, because of last week, I thought he had to pay his price, but I guess he scored that try back in the back end of the game, which maybe saved him there.
He got saved a little bit. I wish we had that footage to play.
Oh, it was hilarious.
It was so good.
I'm surprised they didn't pick him up by the legs and wheelbarrow him over the line.
Pretty much could have. Jack Katoa, we're actually getting questions about him now on YouTube. Playing big minutes in the back row, the edge back row for the Cowboys. The issue is that his work rate is about 0.5 ppm. He's never had a good work rate. So even if he gets 80 minutes, you're looking at 35 points. And Lukey's back as well. Yeah,
I'm a massive fan of the guys. He's a cult hero. I had him in my SuperCoach side from the start to finish of the season when I won.
Really?
He only played 5 games. He was just that cheap. I couldn't move him on. So he's a bit of a trap, I think. So I'd encourage people not to do it.
Former premiership winner, Jack Katoa.
Yeah, with the Big Billy Army. That's right.
Wiramu Greg, any love for him?
Yeah, he's a better option for sure.
Yep, starting for RCG, so probably, or he won't play as bigger minutes as good RCG PPM. Will, but his PPM's good. If you get 35 minutes out of him, you should be getting about 35 points. Captaincy, let's do Cope's captains. So these numbers are always a little bit skewed because I don't think people pick their teams particularly early, but it looks like a lot of people are just going to straight C on Nicho Hynes tonight, locking it away now. 51% of the top 10 are doing that.
Well, yeah, looking at your figures there, you've got 11% doing Turbo. I reckon that's going to drop to 1 if he plays, and that'll be
a lot of people
Brendan Savage in that 1%.
Yeah.
I'll probably do a VC Hynes and captain Manu, or if I bring Teddy in and sell Walsh, I might do Teddy instead.
Yep.
I'm one of the people who will straight captain Hynes. I think there's just too much doubt around your other regular captains week in, week out. Cleary might be a late withdrawal, not kicking goals. Turbo might be a late withdrawal. Manu, what happens there? I just think Hynes is kind of the safest bet.
And it's a smart play too, actually. Yeah.
Right, let's take questions till the end of the show. Benny G is asking, when do you think Croaker will drop out? Personally, I actually don't think he will drop out. I reckon he'll get there to 300. He might stay there for the rest of the season, even if Savage comes back into that team.
I think he only needs another 5 games to make that 300 games, so I'm not too sure. I've got a feeling he won't be consistent. I think that they might drop him out once Kotrick, and I think they will include Savage back into the side at some point, but I think he'll come in and out on a sort of weekly basis here and there.
I think his defence has been really good. He completely shut down Katoni Staggs a few weeks ago. I've got a feeling that he stays in there for a while. He certainly stays in there long enough to get a couple of price rises for SuperCoach.
For sure.
Question from Adam. With all the carnage in the front row, a lot of talk about Tapane, but what about Ruben Cotter? Close, similar average to Tapane, but 60k cheaper.
Well, there's a good chance he'll play Origin, right? He played there last year. I'd probably prefer Tapane. I think he's got more attacking in him. Not that we've seen it yet, but
I'd prefer Tapane as well. He's got that round 13 coverage too. So I'd just pay the premium for Tapane, who's been playing, let's face it, basically at his minimum. He's got a lot more to give.
Yeah.
DC?
Tony's saying, at what stage do you bring in Latrell? The longer we wait, the higher he's getting.
I don't think he can get on now. You had to get on a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, unless you're really sort of trying to make a really bold move. I mean, pay that price. He might keep scoring. He's kind of pottish, I think. Some people have just moved on him because of his price as well to free up other things. I'll want to get him in, I think, at some stage, probably the back end of the year if possible. Hopefully he's dropped a little bit and he's had, a bit of reduced minutes maybe over Origin. They could spell him. And
yeah, he's in his good... He goes through ups and downs during the season. He's in a real up period at the moment. Maybe that goes down a touch before Origin and then he peaks again for Origin and we've got this little wave effect going for Latrell for the rest of the year.
Mitch says, thoughts on Will Kennedy as a turbo replacement?
He's going well.
The tries are there.
Lots of tries. That's the issue with him. And does he cover 13?
No, the top of my head. But the thing is, I guess if you'd rather do that than bring in like a Teddy and someone you're going to move back out, you can't just target all 13 players because if you just have heaps of 13 players by the next one in round 16, it's very hard to move all them out, especially if you've used your boosts. So it's good to have a couple that are going to be playing that round 16 and covering 14 as well for you.
And another thing to point out, it's the best 13 in the bye rounds this year. So
thank goodness.
It's a much easier in those big bye rounds, but then round 14 is going to be really tough. It's the best 17 for round 14.
Yeah, so there's 3 teams being rested.
Yeah, and that's tough teams that are popular, like the Eels, for example, have the byes in that round. So don't underestimate 14.
Yeah.
Bit of a sledge here from Damien.
Yes, we haven't had many.
Sangster looks like he's been down to the local courtroom to pick up his 2 guests today. I don't know if that's a sledge against us or against you.
Well, I'm hanging
He's probably representing me, if anything. I'm not representing no one, I'll tell you that much.
No question for my client.
Well, that gets Zinger of the Week because we haven't had many at all today. And we might end the show on... There we go. We might end the show on that. Big thanks to Tim Moody and Dave Campbell. Good luck on the weekend and go Nico Hines as straight C tonight.